Hey guys, it's Chelsea, and we're going to do a Crow Focused Flow, also known as Bakasana. It's one of the most commonly offered arm balances in a vinyasa practice. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin on our backs. So option to have a couple blocks. If you don't have them, you won't necessarily need them, but if you have them, they might be a good addition to today's practice. As we come onto your backs, you're just going to begin to lie nice and flat. You can work to extend your feet out in front of you, or if you prefer, invite the soles of the feet to touch and butterfly your knees out to the side. Hands can just rest heavily beside the body, or you could choose to place one hand onto your heart and one hand onto your belly. Begin to close down your eyes, settling into your mat or into your space. Begin to take deep, audible breaths through your nose to fill your belly, chest, and lungs. And audible exhales out as you release and empty entirely. Inhale, we bring that in, breath in a little bit deeper. And exhale, allow it to release a little longer. Inhale as you fill. And exhale as you let it go. Begin to take a few rounds of breath here on your own. If you have an Ujjayi breath in your practice, you can begin to draw your inhalations through your nose, and then your exhalations out the nose, creating a slight constriction to the back of the throat. That swirling sensation invites focus to your practice, heat into your body. Let's spend just a couple more moments here with this breath. And on your next inhale, gently start to reach your arms overhead. Take your toes and point them to the bottom edge of your mat and just start to find a big morning stretch here. Wiggle around fingertips and toes, wrists and ankles, moving around any stagnant or sluggish energy within the body. Reach on your inhale, and exhale, pull your knees tightly in towards your chest, giving yourself a squeeze. As you pull your knees and your thighs in, gently start to rock side to side, giving your low back a little massage as you find a little lateral movement, right to left. Pressing your low back deeply into the earth, maybe drawing your knees in a little bit tighter to round the back, the posterior chain. Pulling the knees in a little bit more. If you prefer, you can take your hands to your knees and begin to draw big circles on the ceiling, stirring up any synovial fluid in your hip flexors. Those circles can move independently of one another, or they can move in the same direction. Just start to find a little bit of movement, whatever is calling to you here in this space. Let's take about 2, maybe 3 more rounds of breath here. And then on your inhale, we're going to flip your palms up towards the sky, almost like you're doing a handstand on the ceiling. And then take your big toes to touch, but separate your knees here. And creating a diamond shape from heel to your hips, we're going to pull your knees in towards the triceps. Give it a little squeeze. Find a scoop of the low belly so the tailbone lifts slightly, finding your reclined Bakasana or crow pose. Keep drawing your fingertips back to the crown of the head, really squeezing knees into triceps. Lift the tailbone up a little bit more. And as we exhale, we're going to start to open it up. You're going to draw your toes down. Maybe your toes touch the ground, or maybe they hover. As you pull the knees in, maybe you start to lift your head, neck, and shoulders and squeeze it in. We're going to start to take some crow crunches here. Pulling your knees into the triceps. Lift your tailbone up. Find that scoop. Feel the engagement at the low belly. The arms stay nice and active. If you're continuing to lift your head, neck, and shoulders, see if you can lift it up a little bit higher, creating a more roundness through your posterior chain. Each time that your knees make their connection to your triceps, you squeeze, you scoop, you find that control. As you make that connection, keep flexing your wrists, drawing your fingertips back towards the crown of the head. Let's take about 5 more rounds here as we pull the knees in, start to activate low belly. Open up on your inhale and exhale, crunch, pull the knees in. Let's go for 2. If this ever becomes too much for your neck, just lower your head down. And we're gonna hold on this final 1, taking your knees to your triceps here, and just begin to reach that left foot forward. And then pull that left knee back into the tricep as we send that right foot forward. We're gonna go side to side here, reaching one leg out at a time. Go nice and slow as if you're moving through honey. Continue to lift up your head, neck, and shoulders as you reach your toes forward one by one, continually squeezing your low belly. Feel the transverse abdominals as you extend, crunch, extend, crunch. Keep that scoop of the low belly in the pelvis. Let's go 2 more rounds. Reaching right foot forward, left foot forward. And then we take that right foot forward, squeeze it in, scoop at the top, drop head, neck, and shoulders, pull your knees in. Rock side to side here. If you need to take your gaze right to left, you can. Let's find a little supine twist. Arms reach out to the side, dropping knees over to the right. Transfer your gaze over to the left wrist. And then if you'd like a little bit more traction, place that right hand upon the left thigh, pressing the knees down and rolling that left shoulder deeply into the earth. Taking your legs and gaze back to center. Exhale, we lower your knees now over to the left. Gaze now goes over your right middle finger. Left hand attaches to that right thigh. If you want a little bit more, pressing that right knee on top of the left, roll that right shoulder down deeply into your mat. Taking 2 deep rounds of breath here. Your gaze goes up, your legs come back to center. Pull your knees in tightly towards your chest and take a little rock and roll here. Find a little gentle momentum. Couple rock and rolls to come all the way up onto your hips. And then we're going to extend your feet forward. So as you extend your feet forward, you're going to locate a block. Now, if you don't have a block, that's perfectly okay. You're going to take that block into the center of the mat and bend the left knee first. So with the block in the center of your mat, the sole of the left foot comes to the inner right thigh, maybe even a little bit further out. Your hands are going to come outside of that right leg. And then without using your upper body, you begin to lift that right heel, clearing the block, or maybe it's just an imaginary block, reaching it over to the left side. And then we start to go right to left. Now, if you want to give yourself a challenge, you can make your block really high here as you start to find these leg lifts, clearing that block without leaning back whatsoever. Even more challenge, you could take your hands to heart center, not using your fingertips or hands for that balance. We're starting to work the top of that right leg, those hip flexors, your low belly, as we go right to left. Try to keep your upper body really still, reaching crown of the head nice and tall. Let's take about 2, maybe 3 more, right to left. Tap it back over to the left 1 more time. You should be feeling this in the top of that right leg. And then take that right leg out to the side. Inhale, we're gonna switch it out. You just reach that left heel outside of that left edge of your block. Bend the right knee. Send the sole of the right foot to the inner left thigh. Again, hands can start down, framing that left thigh. As you begin to engage that hip flexor, you lift that heel up and you take it over outside of the block. We begin to go side to side here. So the block and your hips are in the center of your mat, and you're just tick-tocking that left foot right to left, trying to clear the block, maybe trying to elevate the leg a little bit higher, creating a little bit more height each round, not leaning back. Try not to move the upper body at all. Remember, you've got the option of hands, heart center for that challenge. Tapping that heel as we go right to left. We start to feel the top of that left leg, the hip flexor, the low belly, and those muscles are really important when we start to achieve our Bakasana. We engage all of that to float the feet up and away from the ground. Let's go for about 2, maybe 3 more rounds. Again, trying not to lean back, staying nice and still. Once again, over to the right, and then to the left. Let's take both feet out in front of you. Shake it out if you need to. Inhale, sweep your arms high. Exhale, let's forward fold. Little Paschimottanasana here with your feet hip distance apart, pelvis width. Pull the shoulders down away from your ears, belly to your thighs, and fold a little bit deeper. Release, catching up with your breath. Feel the stretch into the back sides of the legs now. If you've got that block there, you can go ahead and begin to remove it. You're going to come up, cross your ankles, coming to all fours here. As we come to tabletop, you're arriving in your box pose. And you're going to stack your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Now from here, we're going to start to find a little bit of movement via cat and cows, but first we're going to stretch out the wrists. You're going to lift up that right hand, send the right fingertips towards that right knee. So you're getting a stretch here of that right wrist and forearm. If this is too intense for you, then go ahead and take your shoulders forward. If you're needing more intensity, take your hips back, but the heel of that right hand stays connected to the mat. As we begin to arch your back, drop your belly, send your gaze high and your chest forward. Exhale, we round. We're going to find cat and cows with this wrist stretch. Dropping belly, send your gaze high. Exhale to round. Good, taking a couple more here on your own. If you would prefer to take your hips side to side or your gaze over opposite shoulders, you can. Implementing any moves you need here in your cat and cows through your spinal undulations to warm up the body. And then meet me with your neutral spine once you've completed that final round. You're going to lift up that right hand, send the back of the hand down, reaching your fingertips towards the left thumb. Stretch it out, maybe rocking side to side. Lift up your hand, send it to the right edge of your mat, and again, you can rock side to side. When you're ready, take your right fingertips forward, once again stacking into the box pose. We go into that second side. You lift up the left hand. Take your left fingertips towards that left knee, forearm and wrist towards the front of the room. If you need more, transfer shoulders forward or draw your hips back if you need a little bit more. And then as you inhale, you're going to drop your belly. Let's find your cat and cows. Round, tucking your chin to your chest, navel to your spine. Really feel the stretch into that left wrist, forearm. And then as you start to find that protraction and retraction, you find that sweet spot, you can move side to side, forward and backward, keeping the heel of that left hand firmly rooted into your mat as you find your movement. And then meet me with your neutral spine. You're going to lift the hand up, take the back of the hand down, your fingertips towards that right thumb, and again, go side to side. Knowing that we're going to spend some time here on the wrists today, we want to give them an opportunity to stretch, to feel warm, preventing any injuries. We're going to take that palm down, reaching your left fingertips towards the outer left side of the room. And then take all 10 fingertips forward. You're back in that box pose, and we send that right heel back for a half spinal balance. Rotate your right pinky toe down, rotating that right hip down, reaching through that right heel. Now lift the heel, lift the chest, find an arch in your spine, and as you exhale, chin to your chest, send that right knee to the right tricep, curl and crunch. Similar to how we did on our back, we send that right heel back, we open up the chest. Exhale, right knee, same tricep, navel to spine, gaze to the back of the room. Let's take a couple more here as we open, we lift. Exhale, we compress and we crunch. Let's take two more as we inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to same tricep. One more time, reach. And exhale, crunch. Hold here, see if you can slide that right knee up towards the right underarm a little bit more. And then send that right heel back, extend before dropping that right knee down alongside the left. Restack your joints if they've moved. Weight goes into that right knee, we send the left heel back. Half spinal balance, rotate that left pinky toe down. Really reach, now open up the chest, find a little mild arch of the spine. Exhale, chin to chest, left knee, same tricep. We take it back as we inhale, lengthen. Exhale, knee to tricep, curl and crunch. We start to open on your inhale. Exhale, elbow to knee. Good. Find that movement. Find that pace. Let's take two more. Left knee, left tricep, chin to chest. Inhale, send it back. One more time, knee to same tricep, hold. See if you can slide that left knee up a little bit more. Pressing the earth away, we send that left heel back. Inhale, exhale, drop left knee down. Child's pose, big toes touch, knees come wide. Lower your hips towards your heels, giving your wrists a break. Walk them to the top of your mat here. Lowering belly, heart, and chest between the gate of your thighs. Lower your head down, soften shoulders down away from your ears. Start to feel the stretch in the tops of the ankles and the backs of the hips and that space in your low back. Hold for 2. Holding for 1, gaze the top of your mat. We're gonna come to all fours. Separate your toes, taking your knees back up underneath your hips. Now tucking your toes, lift your knees away from the mat just about 3 to 5 inches. So as you tuck your toes underneath, we're gonna exhale, send your hips high, coming into your first downward facing dog. Look back as we start, our feet are hip distance apart, if not wider. You can start to find a little bit of movement here as we pedal out the feet. Actively pressing into your thumb and your forefinger, creating a little mild pocket of air underneath your hands. Maybe rise to your tippy toes and set those heels down. Just settling into this downward facing dog. Maybe your hips go right to left. Pressing your chest back towards your thighs, create a concavity in your upper back. Drop your head down, release. And then from here, you're gonna walk your big toes to touch. So as we take our big toes to touch, there's a little sliver of light between your ankle bones. You should be able to look back and see them as you inhale, rise to your tippy toes. Now it's like you're drawing your knees towards the same triceps. Create a diamond shape with your legs. Draw your heels together and press your belly button down back towards your heels. So it's going in that space between your thighs. If you look at your legs, you're creating a diamond shape. And then as we inhale, we're going to straighten out the legs. Send your tailbone high, send your heels high. We're going to take that 2 more times. You're going to bend your knees, send them to same triceps, belly towards your heels. Really open up the chest as you send your knees to the same arm. And then we straighten out the legs, reaching heels high. 1 more time. Create that diamond. Really send the tailbone to the back of the room. The navel towards the inner edges of your feet, and drop your head down for a count of 3, 2. Look to the top of your mat. We're gonna walk our feet behind the wrists, coming into a forward fold via ragdoll. Generous bend in your knees. You can grab opposite elbows, shifting weight further into the balls of the feet. Maybe you rock side to side. If you want more traction into your neck, take your hands and interlace them at the base of the skull, drawing your chin to your chest. Feel the decompression of the spine. We're going to hold here for 3, for 2, and then gently release your hands down. We're going to heel toe the toes all the way to touch. Again, sliver of light between your heels as you inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, we forward fold. Bend into your knees, chair pose, heavy in your heels, sweeping your arms up. Roll your shoulders down into the upper back, lifting up all 10 toes. Sink your hips down as if you're sitting in that imaginary chair, and pull the heart and chest forward. Now we're going to take our thumbs to heart center, but you want to keep the chest lifted. As you inhale, roll the shoulders back. The weight goes into the balls of the feet. Lifting to the tips of your toes, you separate your knees and we crunch it in, taking your knees to triceps. So as we come here, lift your heels really high, pull your navel into your spine, rounding your back as much as you can. Bend your knees to draw your knees up to the triceps a little bit higher. Lift the heels up a little bit higher, pull the navel in a little bit deeper. Now drop your heels, straighten out your legs, stand up as you inhale. Exhale, hinge from your hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant. Let's take your feet back into a plank pose for a hold. If this is too intense, please drop to your knees, finding a more supported plank position. Shoulders, hips, and heels in line, zipping inner thighs, activate navel. If you want more, shift it forward and backward. Get a little bit more stretch in the wrists and in the feet for 3. For 2. Inhale, you're going to shift it forward, lower knees, chest and chin. As you come all the way onto your belly, let's find a Bhujangasana, baby cobra. Press into your hips and tops of your feet. Peel the heart and chest away from the mat. Send your chin to your chest to lengthen out through the crown of the head. And then maybe float your hands up here, pressing actively into your feet. Drawing shoulder blades together. Inhale. Exhale, hands down, hips back. Child's pose. Inhale, look to the top of your mat. Come through all fours, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Big toes come to touch. We're going to speed that up a little bit as you inhale, rise to your tippy toes. Bend your knees, send them to triceps. Press your navel back towards your heels. Really find that concavity in the upper back. Looking forward, you walk, step, or float your feet to the top of your mat. Big toes touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Bend into your knees, sweeping arms high, and then draw your hands to heart center. Pop to the balls of your feet, and then taking your knees to your triceps, you curl and you crunch. Navel into your spine, maybe challenging your gaze by sending it to the heels. And then drop your heels, come to stand. Inhale, reach your arms high. Exhale, hinge as you forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant, feet go back. Optional vinyasa through that chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, you rise to your tippy toes. Bend your knees, sending knees to triceps. Open up your chest. Look forward and walk, step, float your feet to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, bend into your knees, sweeping your arms high. Draw hands to heart center. Now lift up to the balls of your toes. Separate your knees. Tap your knees to triceps. Round your spine. Navel in. Drop your heels. Come to stand. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hinge as you forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, feet back through that plank pose. Optional chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Keep your feet hip distance apart, if not a little bit wider. Drawing your heels back, send your tailbone high. Inhale, we're going to float that right heel high. Exhale, right knee, right tricep, curl and crunch. Inhale, right leg goes high. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. Inhale, right heel high. One more time, pull that right knee to same tricep, trying to create a connection. We lower that right knee down to the wrist and lift it back up. Lower it down and then lift. One more time, we lower, then we lift, really taking it up into that right underarm, pull it through center, step right foot between your hands, crescent lunge. As you inhale, you rise up. Reach the back left heel over the ball mound of that left foot, big bend into that right knee. Rolling shoulders down away from your ears. Activate as you reach up through your fingertips. Take an inhale. Exhale, we're going to sweep the arms back, crown of the head goes forward, finding that charging crescent. Drawing triceps in, open up your chest, maybe hinge forward a little bit more. Lift that back left heel a little higher. Inhale, sweeping your arms high. One more time, we're going to float the hands back on your exhale. Crown of the head goes forward, squeezing triceps in. Warrior C. Press into that right foot, Virabhadrasana 3 as you reach that left heel back. Rotate left pinky toe. If you want more of a challenge, send your hands forward, or maybe arms go out to the side, or hands heart center. We're going to find that balance lifting up through the chest. Maybe lift that heel up a little higher. Bending into that right knee, land your left toes down, crescent lunge with control. Exhale, open up goddess pose. As we open up, toes out, heels in here. Bend into your knees. Send your hands to your thighs and settle into your hips. You might want to find a little bit of movement right to left. You could dip some shoulders down. Now you could stay here. You can take your hands behind your head, really opening up the chest. We're going to find little side crunches. Right elbow comes towards that right thigh. Inhale, center. Exhale, left elbow, left thigh. We're going to go side to side here at your own pace. Right to left. Feel those obliques. Keep opening up the hips by dropping them down. If you still want to challenge from here, pop to the balls of your feet maybe. As we go side to side for 2. 2. Last 1. And 1. Inhale, come back to center. We're going to interlace the hands, finding a wrist stretch. Flip your palms up towards the sky. Dip your hips a little bit lower. Inhale, press the palms up. Exhale, we open up warrior beat. Pivot onto that right heel, bending into that right knee. Track that right knee forward. Lower shoulders down away from your ears. Flipping right palm. Exhale, we reverse. Exhale, windmill your hands down here. Framing right foot. Get onto the ball of the left foot first, squaring off to the front of the room. And then step that left foot up to meet the right. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Now we're going to work a couple little crow setups. If you've got blocks, you may want to start, if you're new to crow, taking blocks underneath your feet. If you've got blocks or something comparable, you're going to step on top of your blocks. You're going to place your hands down. If you don't have blocks, the setup is the same. You spread your fingertips wide, and then you take your knees to your triceps. And then from here, lift your hips high, send your gaze out in front of you, bend your elbows to make a shelf, and then maybe from here you just lean forward. Then you can work on pulling your navel to your spine, maybe lifting one foot up and then the other. Maybe you can lift both feet up, pulling navel in, gaze goes forward. You start to play here in your Bakasana. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower your feet down. Move the blocks if they're still there. Malasana. Drop your hips down, sending hands to heart center. Take a deep breath. So you reach the crown of the head tall. Exhale, release. One more in breath. Exhale, let it go. Send your hands down, hips high. Forward fold as you take your feet in hip distance apart. Gorilla pose in between sides. Slide your hands underneath your feet, connecting your toes to your wrists. Big bend in your knees and your elbows and begin to fold. Giving your wrists a little break, a massage between sides. You could pedal out your feet. You can nod your head no and yes. And when you're ready, release your hands from your feet, heel toe your toes to touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we root to rise, sweeping arms up towards the sky. Exhale, seal hands in heart center. Inhale, reaching your arms up. Exhale, hinge and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, feet back. You've got that optional vinyasa back to your downward facing dog. Taking your time, take it out your way. Inhale, left heel high. Exhale, left knee, left tricep. Inhale, left heel high. Exhale, left knee, left tricep. Get a little bit higher, crunch in a little bit further. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, knee to same tricep. We take those dips. We lower it down to the left wrist and then back up. Lower and lift. One more time, lower and lift. Pull the knee into the chest. Step left foot between your hands. Rise up, crescent lunge.
Reach that back right heel over the ball of the foot, big bend in that left knee, reaching up through your fingertips. Start to take a little bit more weight and bend into that left knee, opening up through your chest. Exhale, we sweep the hands back, crown of the head goes forward. Find that charging crescent as you squeeze shoulder blades together. Gaze goes beyond your mat. Inhale, reaching your arms high. Exhale, charge, reaching arms back, crown of the head forward. Warrior C, weight goes into that left foot as we lift that right heel. Rotate right pinky toe down. Remember, hand placement is your own. Lifting that right heel up, lifting the chest. Gaze goes forward, finding that balance. Big bend into that left knee. We land your right toes down nice and quietly, sweeping your arms up. Exhale, goddess pose. Toes out, heels in. As we settle in here, we're going to go a little bit further. You're going to take that right elbow, right hip, left arm reaches up and over. Inhale through center. Exhale, left elbow, left hip, right arm reaches up and over. Good, we're going to go side to side here as you find that crunch, that stretch, that reach. You can go a little bit faster if you need a little bit more. Maybe don't crunch so much if you need a little bit less. Dipping your hips low, or you can pop to the balls of your feet. Good, let's go 2 more. Over to the right, then to the left. 1 more each side. Coming back to center, you interlace your hands, flip your palms up. Get that rest stretch as you drop your hips down. Maybe you pop to the balls of your feet. 3, 2, drop heels, open up warrior, be to the front of your mat. Big bend in that left knee. Lower shoulders down away from your ears. Flip left palm, exhale, reverse. Inhale through center, we windmill your hands down. Frame that left foot, pivot to the ball of the back right foot. Step right foot up to meet the left. Big toes come to touch. You guys have blocks here if you'd like to use them. They can go underneath your hands, they can go underneath your feet, but we're gonna work into Bakasana crow pose once again. If you've got crow really easily, maybe you work into crane, which is straight arms. So hands come down, fingertips really wide. The gaze goes beyond your mat out in front of you. Rise the tips of your toes, bending knees to triceps. Pull navel into your spine, hollowing out the belly. And then start to lean forward once you create that shelf, lifting up one foot, maybe the other. Again, you can start to straighten out your elbows if you're working into crane instead, taking your heels in towards your glutes. If you want to move, transition to a headstand, you can. 3, 2, drop your feet. If you're still working your crow, you can. If not, settle here into your malasana. Lifting crown of the head tall. If you want more activation in your malasana, reach your arms up and lift your hips into a squat. 3, 2, drop your hands, straighten out your legs. Heel toe your feet hip distance apart. Lifting up your feet, slide your hands underneath. Gorilla pose once again. Bending into your elbows, forward fold. Deep breaths. If you want more time to play with your crow, you absolutely can here. Once you've got this set up, you can use blocks. You can take a pillow underneath you in case you're worried about falling. Taking your hands out from underneath your feet. Heel toe your toes to touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we root to rise. Exhale, seal hands in heart center. Inhale, reaching your arms up. Exhale, hinge as you forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, feet back. Optional vinyasa, back to your downward facing dog. Inhale, rising to your toes, drop down to your knees. Keep your knees together here and keep your heels together. As you lower your hips towards your heels, belly over the thighs, we're gonna come into a rabbit's pose. I'm gonna try not to squish my mic. You're going to take your hands and grasp for your heels. Your head goes down, and you round into your spine. Now you tuck your chin as much as you can into the chest. Begin to lift your hips up and feel that neck stretch, the rounded back, navel towards your spine. Really feel that spread of the shoulder blades, the stretch of the neck, tucking it in a little bit more. Inhale. Exhale, we come down. Take a standard child's pose. Send your knees wide, reaching your arms out in front of you. Deep breaths. Inhale, look to the top of your mat. We come to all fours. Drop down onto your hips and swing your legs out in front of you. As you come into this seated position here, take the soles of the feet to touch and your knees wide, sitting in that Bakasana shape. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, hinge as you forward fold. Reach crown of the head forward, taking chest towards the inner edges of your feet. Fold it in, keeping your hips rooted and your knees open. Start to walk your hands back towards your ankles, shoulders over hips. Draw your knees together. Send your feet the width of your mat. Arms go behind you as you windshield wipe your knees right to left, finding an internal and external rotation of the hips. And then heel toe your feet together, just about hip distance apart. Grasp behind your legs, and we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time. Navel into your spine, chin to your chest as we come down nice and slow. Trying to keep the feet on the ground all the way down. Reach your arms up overhead. Find a big morning stretch here at the bottom. Inhale. Exhale, pull your knees to your chest. We set the feet down, heels in line with your sits bones, feet and knees both hip distance apart. Hands come outside of your hips. Press into all four corners of both feet, beginning to lift your hips up towards the sky, one vertebrae at a time as we find a bridge pose. If you wish, you could clasp your hands at the low back, but refrain from letting your knees sway out to the side. Notice if you've got more weight into the knife edges, those are the outer edges of the feet, as you do the inner edges of the feet. See if you can distribute that weight evenly and then lift your pelvis up a little bit higher. Those of you with a wheel pose, if your wrists are feeling okay, you can take your hands outside your ears, pressing all the way up into your full wheel. Taking a couple rounds of breath. Squeezing your glutes. Exhale, slowly start to come down when you're ready. Supta Baddha Konasana. Reset your low spine by drawing soles of the feet to touch, butterfly knees out. Feel that natural curvature of your lumbar spine, your heavy tailbone, your open pelvis. Draw your knees together. Happy baby. Pull your knees in, grabbing the inner outer edges of your feet. Stack your ankles on top of your knees towards your underarms, and just start to rock slowly side to side to your low back. You may want to ninja kick one leg out to the side and then the other, working deeper into your hamstrings if you choose. Maybe two straight legs for that wide straddle. And then when you're ready, release hands from feet. Inversion of your choice. Sending feet up towards the sky. If you've got a block, you can situate it underneath your hips for a supported waterfall. You can take your feet up against the wall if you want something more supportive. Maybe you wish to stay a little bit longer. Shoulder stand, candlestick. If you want to come forward and take a headstand or tripod or use your wall, you could do that as well. Just finding that reversal of blood flow. Take a few rounds of breath. Feet over hips, perhaps hips over heart.
in shoulder stand or candlestick, you may wish to move into plow pose or ear pressure pose as a counter position. Maybe if you're in waterfall, you rock side to side or draw little tiny circles on the ceiling. And then coming back to center when you're ready, drop your feet down, hug knees into your chest. Supine twist once again. Lower your knees over to the right. Gaze goes over that left hand. Pull that left shoulder back down into the mat. You have the option of straightening out your legs if you want a little bit more here. Rotate and breathe. Gaze back to center, legs come through center until they drop over to the left. And then gaze goes over that right hand, rolling right shoulder down. Deep breaths. Gaze up, legs up. Anything else that you need here? If you wish to work more into your crow, you could do so now while your core and everything is really warm and everything is top of mind. Or if you're ready, you can just come into your final resting pose of Savasana, extending your feet out to the bottom corners of the mat. Arms rest heavily beside you, eyes begin to close, and your body just lays soft and still. Taking a few moments to allow the practice just to sink in. Catching up with your breath. Acknowledging the warmth, the stillness, the art of doing nothing. Know that Savasana is here for you for as long as you need it. You can stay, you can begin to move on with me, finding movement of your fingertips and toes, your wrists and ankles. Inhale, start to reach your arms overhead. Exhale, pull your knees to your chest. A moment of gratitude. Or rolling to your favorite side. And then coming up into a comfortable seated pose. Facing the front of the room. Or you could stay on your side. Sitting up nice and tall. Lifting tall through the crown of the head as you lower shoulders down away from your ears. Again, to bend your elbows, seal hands to heart center and allow your thumbs to fall to your chest, your sternum space. To take a moment here to honor this place of love, this place of compassion. Inhale, we send our thumbs to third eye center as we bow together to say Namaste.